Inn to begin with. The Blueberry Inn is located at 608 South Julia Street in Poplarville. The Culver family built the two-story inn in 1905 with coal-burning fireplaces and wooden floors to house workers in the timber industry. Later, during the 1920s and through the 40s, it rented out spaces to families and single persons alike for extended periods. During these years, Vivian Carter usually managed the business. She was considered a people person who loved to travel. The individual accommodations had no kitchens, so in 1935, she built a restaurant adjacent to the main inn to better serve the residents and her neighbors in Poplarville. The current owner, Myra Jean-Fro Sharp, has now converted that building to a lovely residence where she resides with her husband, Richard. Myra bought the property from Vivian's son after her passing in 1992 at the age of 92 years. If you'd like more information about the Blueberry Inn, Myra said I could give out her number at 601-795-9400. Now, the lady of the inn. Well, hello there. Well, hi. Oh, I am so happy to be here today. Wow, I am glad to meet you all. I am Vivian Carter of the Poplarville Carters. My daddy built what you all call the Blueberry Inn. Oh, and it was a fine establishment. My daddy asked me to run it for him because, you know, I was a people person. And I ran that inn for him for years because I was so proud of it and so proud of my daddy. And people of Poplarville really, really loved it. And we had families. We had people in the tongue oil industry. We had people in the timber industry. Everybody stayed with us because we were the place to be in Poplarville. And you know, Miss Lynne, well, when I found out she was coming here today, after her and I had such a good connection back in Poplarville, I just kind of concentrated, and I said, I'm going to try to latch on to Miss Lynne and see if I can get out of here and get a look at what's happened in Pearl River County since I passed. And you know what? It worked, and I'm here. I know we're supposed to stay in the place where we usually hang out, and believe me, I will go back, but I just wanted to see a little more Pearl River County. And I am so happy to be here in Picayune. You're so lovely folks, and things are just so different and changed and grown. And anyway, I'm going to let Miss Lynne get to what she came here to tell you to do, but I just have to say hi and thank you for wanting to hear about me. I'm sorry. Well, you know, I feel like I've ate it, but anyway, I'm going to read you about my encounter with the lady of the inn. It was the Christmas season of 2004, and the St. Charles Borromeo Choir was having its party at the Blueberry Inn in Poplarville, Mississippi, at the hospitality of the current owner, Miss Myra Jean-Fro Sharp, who was also a soprano in our choir. After the main meal, she offered to give us a tour of the beautiful house she and her husband had renovated into the lovely bed and breakfast it is today. Giving us a little of the home's history, she told us that it had once been a rooming house during the early to mid years of the 20th century. It was used by men working in the area in the timber industry and also men with families. The establishment had been run by a caring but strict woman who saw to it that the house was ran like a well-oiled machine and provided good food and clean rooms for her tenants. The current owner took us through every one of the downstairs rooms, explaining the lovely remodeling and Victorian upgrades they had given to the original functional but plain structure. Though the work had progressed smoothly, only the bottom floor had been done at that time until the inn began to support itself financially. our hostess offered to show us the second floor, which she admitted was in its original state and had not been changed since those early rooming house years. She said it would be like taking a step back in time. As we approached the staircase, I began to get a feeling of someone watching me from the top floor. Since I had had many spiritual experiences in my life, I recognized the possibility that I may have been entering one of those times. I asked if there had been any unusual occurrences in the house since they had taken up residence there. I was told none other than what appeared to be the sound of furniture moving around upstairs from time to time, which they thought might have just been sounds carried on the air from outside. I said nothing and allowed our hostess to continue our group forward to our tour of the upper floor. I was the fourth person to begin to ascend when I got the distinctive feeling of someone observing me from above. When I raised my eyes, I got the impression of a woman in her early 50s in a dark-colored shirtwaist dress and a white full apron with red trim. She had both hands on her hips and a tilt to her head that gave a definite air of defiance. Then she lifted her chin and tilted her head to her right and unfolded her arms below her bust line. The mental impression I was given was that all was well as long as the top floor remained just as it was and it was her domain. She did not mind sharing the house, but did not want anything disturbed in her upper half. The only light to this area came from a wall fixture on the stairs landing. I could not make out specific features of her face and really didn't care to. Her general demeanor was all I needed. I used my arthritic knee as an excuse to end my climb to the upstairs. I went back down to the parlor to await the group's return. Later, when the hostess could speak to me in private, she asked me about my sudden loss of interest in the top section of the inn. She seemed to question the validity of my painful excuse. I told her about my experience, which seemed to intrigue her immensely. She told me she had sensed a coldness coming from the upstairs, but thought it might only have been a drag. We both felt the future renovations would reveal interesting experiences. We kept this between us. Recently, I spoke with Myra to get a handle on the picture of the inn's past, and she told me that she was indeed in the midst of the upstairs renovations. When I asked if anything odd had occurred since they began, she said only one. A laborer she hired was tearing out rotted floorboards when suddenly he came downstairs. She said he was white as a ghost, and she asked him what was wrong and if he felt ill. She said he swallowed and then said, "Wow, I just saw a spirit." He took lunch early that day. In the days following, he never mentioned it again, but seemed to want to stay downstairs and talk a lot rather than go upstairs and work for very long. Because this was not the most beneficial use of the hourly wage they were paying him, he was released from work the next week. The incident was never spoken of again until she and I spoke that day. No other experiences have occurred to my knowledge at this time. Thank you. Well, I hope you liked the story that Miss Lynne had to tell, and we did have a good encounter, and she is a sweet person. And it was so, she didn't know I was hitching this ride. She didn't know at all. In fact, I've been kind of messing with her all week. This is my idea, not hers. And one other thing, I did find out by hanging around being close to Miss Lynne that she has an affinity for dragonflies. If you notice, she's wearing one, because I like them too. They're such little kitschy little animals. So I had Miss Lynne write this. This is a parting. It's called the flittering dragonfly. Flit, flit, dragonfly. Flit, flit when one goes by. Flit, flit, Miss Lynne and I. Flit, flit. That's all. Goodbye.